sort of noticing, I've noticed it for a while within my own life, and I notice it in others' lives too. When we don't take a moment to step back and we just lean forward all the time into whatever we're doing, it's where we tend to get stuck a lot. You see people in society rushing from, rush hour, work, rush, hour lunch, breaks, home, kids, rush, and there's no space. And then by the time the day's over, all they've got left to do is sit down and just catch a breath. But I'm not just talking about that aspect of it. I'm talking about each task we do. We need to see the whole. What are we doing here? What's the most efficient way of doing it? Instead of just rushing in and finding out we've done it very inefficient. Because the game we're playing here takes a lot of efficiency. And if we learn to step back in the world and observe and look at what the task is at hand, what resources do I have, what dangers are there, what's the best way to do it, and then take a moment just to have a look at that, we can achieve things much quicker, faster, efficient, more safely. And the reason I raise this is because we have to stop in the world too, just like the person on the treadmill. If they don't stop and look at what they're up to, a decade can go, 20 years can go, and suddenly at the end of 20 years, you're wondering where your life went. You're trained up to be a hamster on a wheel. You're programmed that way now. Now that's your programming, to run around and keep busy and go from object to object, thing to thing. And all you do is get your satisfaction out of achievement. If you're lucky, if you actually enjoy what you do, you may get some satisfaction from the achievement. A sense of well-being because everything's in order now. Everything's stacked correctly and ordered, and there's a bit of money in the bank. Everything seems to be okay. If you don't step back and have a look, you can never find something like this. The only way most people find this is through suffering, or usually, not always, suffering, or things are going really bad for them, depressions, and they have to stop. Their body stops them. They can't go forward anymore. They haven't got the energy. You start to wonder, and you wonder why you're not fitting in and things aren't going well, and whatever your case may be. And we stop. And in that stopping, we start to look at our life, perhaps. We may be having a lot of negative dialogue, but we're also looking at our life. And if it's not too severe and we can handle it, we might start finding, some self-help books or New Age books. Or we'll get distracted into various aspects of those sorts of things. But they're starting to investigate. I'm personally not a fan of self-help or New Age. They played a role in my early days, but there is no self to help. There is no one to polish. So, but that did lead me into other teachings where it was taking apart the identity and discovering that I am not the identity, and trying to understand that, because it was befuddling to me. I couldn't understand it. The mind wouldn't allow me to understand it. It's not from the mind. But it takes a stopping, and usually we won't stop. We're just running in our habit patterns, going through life. And we have to stop. We have to stop in the world when we're taking action, and we'll stop in our inner world and look. Because your outer world's going to be a reflection of your inner world. A joyful day is a reflection of the joy within you. A miserable day is a reflection of the miserableness in you. I can't count the amount of times I hear it's a miserable day because it's raining. I'm having a joyful day, personally. I don't say anything, there's no point. But I'm having a great day and it's raining. What's that got to do with anything? Or you've had a bad conversation, or let's say an uncomfortable conversation with somebody, and it's half an hour later, or even a second later, or a minute later for me, but it's a bit later, and that's all gone now. That's done. But for other people, that can be carried through the week, the day, the hour. It's not necessary. And if your inner is reactive to such things, and your inner stews on such things, and you support that stewing, then your whole day gets painted in it. Your whole life gets painted in such things. And your life's all you've really got here. It's like an animal that we eat, people eat. It's the only thing the animal's got is its life, and we take it. And all we've got is our life. What else do you have, really? And the life's temporary too, but it's the most consistent thing you're going to have here, other than beingness. It's the second most consistent thing, but it too will fade. So your life and what you do with it and what's going on inside is so important, because the rest of the world relies on it. Your world relies on what's happening inside you. And if anyone's been in a depression, they'll understand what I'm saying here. If everyone's been in joy, they'll understand what I'm saying here. Things that normally bother you when you're in a state of joy and found beingness, they just go straight on by. There's nothing there to catch. If you're in a depression, the slightest little thing, or you're upset about something, the slightest little thing will send you over the edge. And we can stop very quickly. Just the breath out is a stopping, isn't it? Between tasks, we just stop and we just breathe out for a moment and come back. We just stop. And we can do that many, many, many times a day, no matter how busy we are. Be aware of our breath and see if we can carry that awareness back into the task we're doing. There's many, many ways, but that one's so easy. There's no excuses for that one. You know you've got time to breathe out because you're doing it all the time. For sure, you're aware of it and then allowing that dropping from here, that dropping down, dropping of the mental activity down into the heart, if that's happening. Sinking into your being. So just check in, make sure you're stopping and breathing. In the past, I've encouraged people to put chimes on their phone, like apps with chimes. Just a little bell every 15 minutes, half an hour, every hour, whichever's the best. And you know what that bell means. It's come back to presence. You can have a look if you have time. Have I been present the last few minutes since the last one? And just check in and check that. So you've got constant reminders to stay present, stay as awareness, instead of being the activity or whatever the mind's doing. And then over time, you can reprogram yourself. This technology is incredible. It's so simple. Do you want to do it? Is the question. It can even be a buzzer. It doesn't have to be a gong. Just, how your phone vibrates. You can set those things up. And you can breathe out, observe to see how present you've been or not. Have I been content or not? Have I been caught? And then you can also, you might have one or two things you're working on that are really important, like we've discussed in here, and you found something. And rather than let it escape and then hide again, then come back a year later, you can keep going back to that point. Has that happened lately? Or am I healing this? Is my awareness on it? And over time, the ice cube of the identity melts, It melts. It's up to the so-called individual to take the action. And the action is a reminder to let go. Until that action of a reminder to let go is no longer required, and then it can be rested. And it's your natural state to stay and let go. It's not required anymore. It's just a temporary thing. And you keep doing this long enough, and what do you find? You find love. You find true love. Not this one everyone's imitating, this fake one, the real one. There's nothing to do.
Please like or subscribe if you found value. Meet Rohan via rohan.life.